elephant in the room, Shedeur Sanders. What happened, Tom? Why did he go so late in the draft?
I mean, it's a good question. I wasn't a part of any evaluation process or to
Skip Bayless
see
says
that.
otherwise.
No, well, everyone's got that's the problem with media is everyone can just say whatever the fuck they want and get away with it.
Crazy.
It's kind of unfortunate because there actually used to be a lot of integrity in media, and there's way less now because everyone needs crazy voices to get heard, and it actually probably hurts a lot of relationships, which is not the goal of, broadcasting. It should be to develop and cultivate and solve problems, and rather than the critiques, I want people to offer solutions all the time. So nobody knows, and I actually texted Shedeur because I know him very well. And I said, dude, like whatever happens, wherever you go, like that's your first day. Day 2 matters more than the draft.
And yeah, this one's got the entire NFL world on fire. Because when Tom Brady, the GOAT himself, steps in and says, "You don't bench your future because of your ego," people listen. The internet exploded, Cleveland fans are furious, and even players around the league are asking the same question. What on earth is happening inside the Browns organization? Here's the setup. Just hours after Cleveland's brutal 32-13 loss to the New England Patriots, yes, the same game where their offense looked lifeless and their defense couldn't stop a paper bag, reports started breaking that Shedeur Sanders had been quietly pulled from the QB2 role, replaced by Bailey Zapp. Yeah, that Bailey Zapp, the same guy New England cut earlier this year after struggling to even hold a backup job. And that's where this whole story gets wild. Tom Brady, arguably the greatest football mind we've ever seen, didn't just comment. He snapped. He called out Kevin Stefanski and the Browns coaching staff, saying what every frustrated Cleveland fan has been screaming all week: this organization has no idea how to handle young quarterbacks. Because if there's one person on this planet who knows what it's like to be underestimated, it's Tom Brady. He was pick number 199. He was told he'd never start. And now, he's the guy every quarterback dreams of being. So when Brady sees another young, talented QB like Shedeur Sanders getting buried on a depth chart because of politics, yeah, he takes that personally. Brady said it himself, "You don't bench your future because of ego." And honestly, who can argue with that? Now here's where it starts to look even worse for the Browns. Right before that loss to New England, practice footage surfaced from Cleveland's facility. You can see Bailey Zapp warming up right next to Jameis Winston, QB1 and QB2 spots. And where's Shedeur? Off to the side. Alone. Stretching quietly. Like he'd been sent to the kids' table at Thanksgiving dinner. This wasn't some random rotation. This was a statement from Kevin Stefanski, loud and clear. Then, just hours later, a report drops from longtime Browns insider Mary Kay Cabot saying Shedeur Sanders has been added to the injury report with a tight back. Tight back? Overnight? Come a minute. The same Shedeur Sanders who played through punishment at Colorado behind one of the worst defensive lines in college football suddenly can't practice because his back tightened up? Let's not kid ourselves. Something smells off here. Because get this, the practice footage showing Zapp taking QB2 reps was filmed before the report about Shedeur's supposed back issue. So unless Shedeur's back somehow went back in time to hurt him before the injury happened, this whole thing feels like a cover story. So, here's the question everyone's asking right now. Did Kevin Stefanski really bench Shedeur Sanders for Bailey Zapp and then use an injury report to hide it? It's hard to look at the timing and not think so. And here's where the firestorm really started. So imagine his reaction when he finds out the Browns, of all teams, have pushed Shedeur aside after a humiliating 32-13 loss against Bailey Zapp's former team. Yeah, this isn't just benching. This is embarrassment layered with irony. Because this isn't just about football anymore. This is about pride, politics, and panic. Kevin Stefanski knows the pressure's on. The Deshaun Watson experiment has gone up in smoke, and ownership is watching every move. So what does Stefanski do? He makes the safe play. He benches the rookie to protect his job. He doesn't want headlines about Shedeur's struggles in debut. He wants stability, at least on paper. But the problem is, that decision might have just cost Cleveland their future. Because in football, you can't build a winning culture by hiding talent. You build it by trusting it. And that's exactly what Brady's furious about. He spent his whole life proving doubters wrong, and he can smell fear from a mile away. Stefanski's playing scared. And when a head coach starts coaching scared, the entire locker room feels it. You could see it in the Browns' loss to the Patriots. No fire, no urgency, no confidence, just confusion. So let me ask you, the fans watching this, do you think Kevin Stefanski really believes in Shedeur Sanders? Or is he protecting himself because he's afraid of what might happen if the rookie outshines the veterans? Because one thing's for sure, Tom Brady's not buying the excuses. Brady's exact words were clear. He said, "You don't bench your future because of ego." And if you read between the lines, that's not just advice. That's a warning.
And I actually texted Shedeur because I know him very well. And I said, dude, like whatever happens, wherever you go, like that's your first day. Day 2 matters more than the draft. I was 199.
Yeah.
So who could speak on it better than me? Like what that really means. Use it as motivation. You're going to get your chances. Go take advantage of it. So everyone makes, like I remember like when they were talking about Aaron Rodgers sliding. And Aaron slid to like 21 in the first round or whatever it was. I'm like, dude, you're the 21st pick in the first round. I think they still think you're pretty good. You know, like you're still a great player. You're a first round pick in the NFL. There's only 32 of those guys every year. So use it as motivation. Like wherever you end up going, you still have it's about your performance. Like what do you do when you get there? Because you're going to get there.
Now, if that doesn't raise alarms, I don't know what will. Because back injuries, as Brady knows, are the easiest excuse in football. They can't be proven. They can't be disproven. You just say, tightness, and suddenly you've got a free pass to sit someone down without questions. But this isn't a coincidence, it's control. The Browns wanted to control the narrative. They wanted to hide behind medical terms instead of admitting the truth. They don't trust their young quarterback yet. And that's exactly why Brady's message hits so hard. He knows this pattern. He's lived it. He's seen how great players get buried under politics before ever getting a chance to prove themselves. And here's the painful truth. This could be the moment Cleveland loses Shedeur Sanders for good. Because when you humiliate a young QB publicly, especially one as confident and driven as Shedeur, you don't just hurt his pride. You damage trust. So again, I'll ask you this. Cleveland, how many more times are the Browns going to sabotage their own future before they finally learn? Because Shedeur Sanders isn't the problem here. He's the victim of a dysfunctional system that still can't figure out how to win. And if Tom Brady's right, and he usually is, this decision could haunt Cleveland for years to come. They didn't just bench Shedeur Sanders. They benched their future. And as that 32-13 scoreboard glared above the field, Shedeur Sanders sat on the sideline, helmet off, head up, but eyes burning with that unmistakable fire. You could feel it through the camera. Not the pout of a benched player, the stare of a man who knew he'd been wronged, but wasn't about to say it. And maybe that's what set Tom Brady off in the first place. Because Brady? He saw himself in Shedeur. That same composure under chaos. That same refusal to make excuses. That same quiet fury that fueled dynasties. Brady went on to say, "If I'm that coaching staff, I'm rethinking every decision that leads me to take that kid off the field. You don't punish poise. You develop it." You could almost hear the studio go silent after that. Because when Tom Brady invokes himself in comparison, that's not casual talk. That's a torch-passing moment. And it forced a real question. Is Kevin Stefanski, in his obsession with system over instinct, killing the very spark Cleveland's been praying for? Think about it. The Browns have been searching for an identity ever since Baker Mayfield's swagger wore thin and Deshaun Watson's uncertainty clouded the future. And suddenly, this rookie walks in, son of Deion Sanders, the most confident man to ever walk between the lines, and he gives you a taste of something different. A quarterback who's not afraid to own the spotlight. A leader who doesn't crumble when he's being second-guessed. A young man who carries primetime DNA. And yet, he's the one sitting on the bench while the game slips away. You could sense the frustration not just from fans, but even within the team. According to reports from insiders at camp, a few veteran receivers were not happy about Shedeur being pulled from the reps. They said he had command, calmness, the kind of energy that made the offense believe. And when he left, that confidence disappeared. But the Browns' official line? It's a developmental decision. Stefanski said, quote, "We're managing reps, Shedeur's progressing well. But we like where our rotation is right now." Translation? He's not ready, at least not their version of ready. But let's call it what it is. Sometimes, coaches hide behind process when they're afraid of losing control. Brady wasn't subtle about that either. Later in that same segment, he said, "The greatest mistake I've seen coaches make is confusing control with culture. The best teams I've ever been on, Belichick, Arians, McDaniels, they all knew when to step back and let the players lead." And that was the gut punch. Because if you've watched Shedeur Sanders long enough, you know he's not just trying to play quarterback, he's trying to lead. He's trying to earn it the right way. Now imagine being that guy, a rookie who studies film past midnight, who lives in the playbook, who carries himself with humility and hunger, only to be told, "Wait your turn," while your team gets embarrassed 32-13 on national television. Tell me that doesn't sting. But maybe that's exactly what he needs. Because great players, the legends, they're forged in moments like this. Remember when Brady was QB4 in New England? Remember when Montana sat behind Steve DeBerg? Greatness always waits its turn, but when it gets that shot, it never gives it back. And that's what makes this controversy so electric. Because Cleveland knows, whether they admit it or not, that Shedeur's turn is coming. The crowd can feel it. The locker room can feel it. And if you were watching that press conference, you saw Brady's conviction like a thunderclap through the NFL media cycle. "Don't overthink the obvious," he said. "If you've got a kid who commands the room, who makes his teammates better, you play him. You don't wait for the numbers to tell you, you trust your eyes." That soundbite alone dominated sports talk the next morning. First take, get up, undisputed, everyone jumped on it. Stephen A. Smith went ballistic. Tom Brady doesn't speak up like that unless he means business. Kevin Stefanski better wake up, or he's gonna be the guy remembered for benching the next great quarterback. And suddenly, this wasn't just a Brown story. It was an NFL story. A power struggle between the old-school coach mentality and the new-age quarterback revolution. Because Shedeur Sanders represents something bigger than a roster slot. He represents the future, a generation of QBs who blend confidence with calculation, showmanship with discipline. And if Cleveland doesn't realize what they have, someone else will. You could already feel the rumblings, reporters whispering about trade hypotheticals, insiders suggesting that if Shedeur doesn't see the field soon, he might want out. Imagine that, the Browns drafting the most polarizing, electrifying young quarterback since Kyler Murray, only to let him rot behind a scheme built for mediocrity. But if there's one thing we've learned from this kid, it's that he doesn't need saving. He creates moments that save him. Remember week 1 of the preseason? Down by 2, fourth quarter, 1:22 on the clock. Shedeur orchestrated a 75-yard drive with surgical precision. Hit a 19-yard strike over the middle, audible to a fade on the sideline, dropped a dime into the end zone for the win. The crowd went berserk. And in that instant, you saw it, Cleveland's heartbeat. So yeah, maybe he's benched right now. Maybe Kevin Stefanski wants to protect him from the chaos. But when Tom Brady looks at your quarterback and says, "That kid reminds me of me," that's not a coincidence. That's football prophecy. And if history's taught us anything, it's that prophecy doesn't care about depth charts. Give it a few weeks. Give it one more meltdown like that 32-13 disaster. The pressure will mount. The headlines will scream. The locker room will shift. And when the moment comes, when Stefanski can no longer justify holding back the inevitable, Shedeur Sanders will step back onto that field with the eyes of every doubter locked in on him. And that's when you'll see it. The precision, the poise, the passion, the prime DNA. Tom Brady wasn't wrong. He was early. So go ahead, Cleveland. Keep overthinking. Keep rotating. Keep pretending that development means delay. Because when Shedeur finally gets that nod, it won't just be a quarterback change, it'll be a movement. And when that day comes, remember this conversation. Remember the man who saw it before the rest of us did. Tom Brady. Because if the GOAT says you're special, you better believe it's only a matter of time before the rest of the league does too. This is Gridiron Insights, where legends recognize legends. Like and subscribe for more Shedeur Sanders updates, drama, and the truth behind every headline. Because this isn't the end of a controversy, it's the beginning of a revolution.